Texans lock up Dalton Schultz. What does it mean the next moves are going to be, and was it the right decision? Let's react to the breaking news in the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room.
Texans lock up Dalton Schultz. Ironically, it happened as we were talking about it on the show, which is in the Loop Sports Radio 610. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on the Odyssey app. You can see me right here in the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. Dalton Schultz, Ian Rappaport had the news first. Others confirmed and broke it after, but it was Ian Rappaport with the news. 3 years, $36 million, 23.5 guaranteed. So at least a 2-year commitment. One of CJ Stroud's favorite targets, a guy who was bought in completely from the beginning. It appeared that he wanted to be here. Dalton Schultz spoke very highly of Bobby Slowick. Basically said that the Cowboys offensive staff couldn't hold a candle to him, has spoken highly of CJ Stroud from the beginning. Some of CJ's most clutch moments were connecting with Dalton Schultz. The Atlanta game, which first play after the 2-minute warning, the touchdown where they basically said they drew it up during the 2-minute warning comes to mind. The Cincinnati game where they were shorthanded and Schultz made the play that set up the field goal. The touchdown in the postseason game. Schultz made a lot of plays for this team. 59 catches, 635 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Nothing to roll your eyes at. But was Dalton Schultz worth the contract he got? 3 years, $36 million. I think the best way to look at this, I think there's 2 things to look at when it comes to the contract. Last year, you got him for 1 year less than $10 million, and he wasn't part of your original plans. You saw the market play out, and you went and got Dalton Schultz. And by doing that, essentially, I think the second-round pick, which would have been prime range to get a tight end, I think that was more tradable. And you can even make a case that maybe that slightly factored in to the Will Anderson trade. But there are 2 things that I think you look at when it comes to this contract. Number one, the market didn't need to speak on Dalton Schultz. Last year, the market spoke and Dalton Schultz became a bargain. This year, the market was just bad at the free agent tight end. And apparently they didn't want to kick the tires on Fant. They didn't like the possibility of Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith wasn't enough to pique their interest, and they really didn't see anything. And it was a very thin market. And because it was a thin market, Dalton Schultz was going to be a hot commodity. Last year, he wasn't because of how deep the draft was and how the market was better. This year, he was going to be a hotter commodity. And if you wanted to keep one of CJ Stroud's favorite targets around, regardless of what you think his weaknesses are when it comes to blocking, you were going to have to pay the max value. So it's almost like a seesaw. You get the bargain last year, you're paying the market value now, and you're going back and forth on it, and maybe it kind of cancels out. In a perfect world, you would like to see them add another tight end that's perhaps a little bit better blocking. You would like to see a better running back. You would like to see a more healthy offensive line, and you want to see a deeper receiving core so that you're not so dependent on Dalton Schultz, and maybe that opens stuff up for him. I anticipate that the weapons at wide receiver and running back, they're going to pile up, and you're going to be able to throw Schultz back in that mix. So number one on the contract, the market didn't need to speak. The market was really clear, and they clearly didn't like any of the free agents. And quite frankly, they're at a space where if it's not Brock Bowers in the first round, it won't make sense, and that's probably not realistic. And in the second round, you're looking at receivers like Jatavian Sanders out of Texas and some other guys that might have flaws. Maybe they find another tight end that they like in day 3. Are we counting Tegan Quitteriano out yet? I don't know. You damn sure can't rely on him because my man can't stay on the field. The other thing I think that needs to be taken into account, and I think this is the same thing when it comes to the running back position, the low-risk nature of the contract. Look, if you franchise tag Dalton Schultz, he was going to be making around this. If you get the production you got last year, you're okay with it. And at the end of the day, it's $12 million for the season, which is basically what the equivalent of what Sheldon Rankins got, give or take a little bit. So it's not like you're paying a, like, let's say defensive lineman $25 million, like max value or whatever, $20 million. It's not like you're bringing in a high price corner. It's a tight end who, for better or worse, you know what you're going to get. He has chemistry with the quarterback. And just like if you bring in Saquon Barkley or Jacobs, like the scale of a top 10-ish tight end contract, there's really not a ton of risk. Now, if Dalton Schultz played left tackle or right tackle or something like that, and you felt the way you did about him, maybe you're not willing to make a deal like this because it would be more expensive, or if he was a wide receiver. But the low risk nature of the tight end, I think, comes into play as well. The question now, when it comes to Dalton Schultz, is what will the weapons around him look like? What does this mean for the running back? The betting odds on Saquon Barkley after the signing, and I'll give Nick Schrager of Battle Red credit for this, they went down to minus 200 for the Texans to acquire Saquon Barkley. Do with that what you will. Those increased. And the wide receiver, what are they going to do there? And hell, what are they going to do at tight end? You can't have Dalton Schultz and Brevin Jordan as your top two guys. You got to get someone who can block. Maybe they feel good about Quitirano. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the market spoke to the Texans. The Texans did what they felt was best. We can chalk this off the list of things to watch, and the Texans can focus on other stuff. Free agency begins next week. Franchise tag period is concluded. The live stream, 10:30 p.m. Central on weekdays. We talk about all of this and more. We'll get into it. But the Dalton Schultz contract, we've weighed out the pros and cons. The cons are well documented, but they're not really that costly in the pros. Hell, you saw what he did last year. Maybe it gets even better. Subscribe, like, ride along. Breaking news here. Every time we react to it, got the radio show 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610, YouTube, Twitch, the Odyssey app. Remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Let me know what you think about the Texans locking up Dalton Schultz for a few years.
Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital.